Today on Monkey Life, vets are called to the park due to serious concerns for the health of elderly chimp Zoe, and Alison is apprehensive.
It's always a nerve-wracking day, so getting myself all geared up and hope that everything goes okay.
Mueller's gibbon Dalumie enjoys a pamper session.
What you see right there is a little gibbon giggle.
And the lemurs get to grips with a new tree stump down at Malagasy. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
You just never know how it's going to work.
The park provides a home for more than 260 primates from 24 different species. The years have flown by since the park first opened in 1987, and many of the chimps are now getting on in life. Some have been at their Dorset home for more than 30 years. At 44, Bixer is believed to be the oldest chimpanzee at Monkey World. As they age, just like humans, they're more prone to aches and pains and serious illness. Female chimp Zoe, one of the first to arrive at the park all those years ago, is giving cause for concern.
Over the last couple of weeks, she's gone downhill. She's slow to get up in the morning, she's off of her food, and then in the last few days, we're finding her in the morning laying down flat on her belly and clearly not comfortable internally. So we think that there's something happening with her, either cramping, gastrointestinally, we don't know. Is she just getting old and this is her body winding down, or does she actually have some pathology that we can help with? So it's always a nerve-wracking day, so getting myself all geared up and hope that everything goes okay.
Alison has called in the vets to take a look. Today's health check is more emotional than ever. It's the first since the tragic sudden death of specialist wildlife vet John Lewis, who had been such an important part of the park. It also marks the first visit to the park for wildlife vet Nic Masters.
He was actually a protege of John Lewis, so that's nice to know. I've heard a whole lot about him in the past, but never actually met Nic Masters. It'll be the first time that he's worked at Monkey World and that we've all worked with him. So I look forward to meeting him, but there'll always be in the back of my mind that I'm missing John.
Good luck. Thank you.
Nic has prepared the anaesthetic drugs so the team can hand-inject Zoe. She hasn't responded to any medication, so a proper examination under anaesthetic is called for. Once the drug has taken effect, she's quickly moved to the park's hospital, where Nic and local vet Dave Harding can get to work. Dave begins to insert a drip. Zoe has been off her food and hasn't been drinking much, so they need to rehydrate her. On first inspection, both vets are concerned. There appears to be an abnormal mass in her abdomen.
I mean, that definitely doesn't feel right there.
It could be something to do with Zoe's liver. An ultrasound scan should reveal what's going on.
So the liver definitely has an abnormal, patchy appearance.
It's immediately obvious to Dave the aging female chimp has an enlarged liver. There also seems to be a lot of fluid in the pleural cavity, the space between her organs.
I think before we go any further with this, I think we should do a chest X-ray. It's huge. The liver's huge. I mean, you normally have to go up here, and you know, to see the liver back here is huge.
A chest X-ray may confirm what they already suspect and show any secondary abnormalities. But it doesn't prove conclusive.
What I thought was fluid in the chest, I think is actually just fluid around the liver. The problem seems to be mainly with the liver, but it's difficult to be absolutely certain what the problem is without direct visualization. And we think that given her condition, it's better to get an answer sooner rather than later.
Dave decides to take another look via ultrasound.
There's something major going on in the liver, I'm certain of that. I think the only way we're going to get a definitive answer would be opening her up.
Performing surgery is a last resort. Zoe is already weak, and the odds are against her.
The truth of it is we've got a very sick animal. And I guess, look, if this is hopeless, let's not wake her up.
To give Zoe every possible chance, the vets investigate further, but it only confirms their suspicions. Alison has to decide whether to let Zoe go. It's a tough call, but she knows what's best for Zoe, and the elderly female chimp is helped to pass peacefully.
Pathology in the liver was considered to be just so severe that it was decided that it wouldn't be the right thing to wake her up from that. So unfortunately, the decision was taken to let her go.
It's a blow for the team, but not unexpected.
Yeah, it's awful whenever we lose any of our guys, but I mean, you sort of just have to take a deep breath. She's going to leave a hole in that group. She's definitely going to be missed by all of us.
Zoe was one of the park's original 9 chimps rescued from Spain, where they were cruelly exploited as beach photographers' props. Her future was bleak until Alison's late husband Jim Cronin stepped in. Thanks to Monkey World, she enjoyed more than 30 happy years living with her own kind. It's a little over a week since Geoffroys' marmoset Gizmo arrived at the park from Nottinghamshire. He's settled in well to life at the marmoset domestic house, although he's had a number of health issues which the primate care team have had to address.
When he arrived, we obviously know he'd been on a very high sugar diet. He was drinking quite a lot, so there was thoughts that maybe he had some potentially diabetes. That's kind of stopped now, and he's drinking a normal amount for a marmoset. So obviously being on a normal marmoset diet has helped that, and he's just back to drinking normally. He's eating well. He's still not keen on his vegetables, but the rest of the diet he's eating well. So he's eating the porridge mixture that we give them. He loves insects, particularly locusts and waxworms. He's eating them really well, and he does like fruit. So he is doing well. He's very active. He's always up and about. And with a proper diet, he'll just be feeling a bit more healthy.
Gizmo's general condition gave cause for concern the moment he arrived. The team immediately did fecal checks to discover if he was carrying parasites that would be detrimental to his health and that of any potential housemates. Vet nurse Saffron discovered he had high levels of Giardia.
What we do have is this blue dot here, which actually indicates that the sample is positive.
The parasite can cause a lot of problems in small primates and could help to explain Gizmo's poor appearance.
The Giardia will be causing things like dehydration and diarrhea and gastro upset and things like that, which are all kind of symptoms that you would potentially see with the diabetes as well. So what we're doing is we're keeping a really close eye on him and making sure we're covering all of our bases and monitoring for him for any signs of any other underlying diseases. But what we're going to do first is get this Giardia under control.
Gizmo was prescribed a course of medication to try to eradicate the parasite. But that's easier said than done.
Come on in, buddy. Come on, little man.
The team have had to give the medicine by hand, carefully disguised in grubs and insects.
We have to find out what their favourite foods are, what they're most likely to take it in. We also tend to find the first few days of a course aren't so bad. But when you get sort of further along the course, they get a little bit wise to that there's something extra with the food that you're giving them. And as such, they can get a little bit hesitant to actually take it.
Fortunately, Gizmo is developing a liking for one particular tidbit.
So the waxworms were a no. Let's see if a locust works out instead.
The medication seems to have done the trick. Following further fecal checks, Gizmo has been given the all clear. But there's more hard work ahead for the primate care team before Gizmo can move on to the next step in his rehabilitation.
We can progress now with introductions and hopefully getting him some company and a little marmoset friend. Does mean we've got a bit of work to do because Giardia can kind of hang around. So it comes out in the fecals, but it can, if we've missed a little patch or we've not cleaned it, scrubbed it quite as well, then it can just be loitering around the enclosure. And we're going to bring Solomon down to meet Gizmo here. So what we're going to have to do is take all the branching out, scrub down all of the plastic platforms, which are a lot easier to clean than the branching, so they can stay. But make sure we get rid of all of the porous wood, make sure that's all out, rebranch everything with fresh, clean branching, and at that point then we'll be safe to bring Solomon down.
In a few days' time, the team will double check for any recontamination, and if everything is clear, Gizmo will be introduced to a brand new housemate, and his new life can begin in full. For the last few months, the maintenance team have been busy extending and renovating the pond woolly house, as well as building them a new outdoor caged enclosure. Work on the outside area is now complete. This morning, the primate care team are going to let Enzo's group of 6 explore it for the first time.
It's a completely new tunnel system, so they might take a little while to actually realise how they have to access the enclosure. So we'll give them a little shout, we'll open those slides. They are very interested. They've been watching us in there now, putting some food in and preparing. So sure, it won't take them long to go out and explore.
This group already have a large outdoor enclosure without a roof, making it open to local wildlife. This new caged enclosure with a roof allows the team to monitor newborns and introductions and gives the monkeys space to get away from each other, which helps reduce stress. It's in a much sunnier spot with plenty of natural foliage and has lots of hosing to move around on. The group should love it. Dominant male Enzo and female Pakaya are first to venture out. She has 5-month-old Esmeralda safely tucked on board. Enzo immediately starts scent marking his new territory, then checks it's safe for the others to follow. 11-year-old Isla feels secure enough to enjoy some breakfast, all the time taking in her new surroundings. 6-year-old Oriana travels along the hosing, checking out and foraging through the shrubs and foliage. But Bakaya's other daughter, 2-year-old Enya, has yet to put in an appearance. Oriana goes back to the tunnel entrance to encourage her out. Eventually, she plucks up the courage and ventures into the new space. Enya is cautious as she makes her way along the hosing. She isn't prepared to stray too far from safety. The enclosure's high vantage point gives the woolies plenty to see. And their excited contact calls attract the attention of their neighbours.
There is a lot of exciting trails, so a lot of it is quite happy. It's fairly intense as well, so I think there's a little bit of apprehension as well, a little bit of concern. There's been some interaction between them and the neighbouring chimpanzee groups. But yeah, a couple of them are wild to come out, so I think those contact calls are really important just to let them all know, because obviously it's something very different, which can be quite scary at the same time.
Once everything has calmed down, Sharon decides it's time to let the group try out the new tunnel system, which connects the house to their larger outdoor enclosure.
I think they're all going to be very, very excited to get back out into the enclosure. It's a perfect day for it. It's nice and mild, sun shining. I can see they're all sort of looking at me quite keen to see what's going to be happening next. So yeah, it'll be quite nice for them.
The slides are opened at both ends of the tunnel and the group don't need a second invitation. There's no apprehension as they head through the tunnel into their wonderful large open space. It's been a few weeks since they were last here because the maintenance team had work to finish. Woolly monkeys thrive in a stress-free environment and are happy when they're on familiar territory. It's good to be back. At the gibbon complex, Mueller's gibbons Nini and Dalumie are outside enjoying the warm spring sunshine. Paired up when Dalumie lost her long-term partner Adidas, they've now been together for just over a year. It wasn't exactly love at first sight, but Nini is now getting used to living with feisty and more often than not grumpy Dalumie, who's definitely in charge. Today the pair are going to have a training session and a bit of TLC from primate care member Kat.
Dalumie! Hey, Nini. Dalumie! You coming?
Nini and Dalumie both arrived at the park in 2000 from the Pingtung Rescue Centre in Taiwan. Nini is around 24 years old and his new partner is about 4 years older.
Good girl.
She's first to come over to Kat.
Good girl. You want a treat? You want a treat? You're just going to be grumpy? You're going to be grumpy? Take the treat. Thank you. So this is Dalumie, our female Mueller's gibbon. She can sometimes be a little bit grumpy, so I have to kind of keep my eye on her at the moment. She likes to come down and do her training session, but as you can see, one of the things she really loves is just to hold hands and have some contact with her favourite keepers. So we usually try and start off any kind of training session with just something really nice and positive like that. Gets her in a nice, calm, happy mood and stops her being really grumpy. So you have to kind of like try and keep the mood as positive as you can. What you see right there is a little gibbon giggle. Now, Dalumie has got definitely a very resting, grumpy face. When you look at her, she does look like a real grumpy little gremlin. But when she laughs, she completely transforms. And you'll hear this little squeaking noise and see all of her teeth will come on show. It's usually very brief. You're only looking at a second or two that she will usually laugh for. But it is really sweet if you get a chance to see it. Good girl.
Like some other species at the park, in the UK climate, Mueller's gibbons suffer from dry skin that needs constant attention.
These guys naturally come from rainforest areas. There you go, that's the grump. They come from the rainforest areas, really hot, humid areas throughout the whole year. Obviously, our weather conditions don't really reflect that. So quite a few of the species around the park, but in particular the Mueller's gibbons and the orangutans, you'll see they get really, really dry skin. So that's one of the reasons that we ask people to donate us baby oil so that we can actually moisturise into all of their different parts of their hands and their elbows and things like that. So again, you can see it quite clearly on our hands how dry they actually are there. Another thing that we're kind of looking for is the length and shape of our nails. One of the things that we do with the guys is regularly using just a little nail file, keep on top of those nails for them. For primates, grooming is really, really important, and it's a really nice way to sort of connect with each other as well. So it's quite nice for her. She obviously, as you can see, she's really relaxed and really enjoying the pampering.
Nini has finally ventured down. He's a bit shy around strangers and still wary of Dalumie's mood swings.
Nini hasn't really gained a huge amount of confidence around her. He's still not really very sure what he's supposed to do with the ladies. So he's a little bit nervous.
Nini arrived at the park an amputee, possibly the result of an injury when he was stolen from the wild. But he's adapted remarkably well.
Everything that he does with one hand. Now, he obviously has adapted his foot use, but a lot of the time you will see Nini going across the roof of the enclosure just using one hand, and he brachiates so quickly and catches on. And obviously he does have that sort of half an arm there to help with the weight and counterbalance as well. So he gets around in an amazing way, and we're really quite impressed with what he can do. Well, I think you're all greased up, Dalumie.
But today he's leaving the pampering to Dalumie, who can't get enough of it.
I think she would quite happily stay here for the entire day and just allow us to pay her all the attention in the world. Isn't that funny?
Down in Malagasy, it's a waiting game. The park's troop of 10 ring-tailed lemurs are patiently watching from inside their overnight enclosure, while the maintenance team manoeuvre a rather large tree stump into position. The care team are hoping it will keep the group occupied and stimulated for some time.
Anything new in an environment for these guys is interesting, so they'll probably come and have a look at it. They'll want to scent mark it because it's new to their territory. And hopefully they might find some tasty grubs and things in there.
The group are let out and make a beeline for breakfast, ignoring the stump. Twins Kurt and Friedrich commandeer a bucket for themselves. Indiana forages on the ground for any peas the others may have dropped. But the tree stump soon grabs the boys' attention and scent marking begins. Lemurs have extremely long snouts and a wet nose. Scent is a much more important sense to them than other primates.
Scent marking is one thing that they do all of the time. And all of the boys want to be the last animal to scent a particular thing. And it can be anything. It can be a stick on the floor or a bucket if we're cleaning. But they always want to be the last one to scent it. And then it smells of them and it's, in theory, their territory. So it is very important for them.
But with all the scent marking going on, foraging around the stump hasn't even started.
Come on, everyone!
To encourage them to try, Karen throws some raisins amongst the roots. It soon pays dividends. One lemur not participating in this morning's enrichment is Kaya. She's still recovering from a nasty leg injury and subsequent surgery following an attack by another lemur a couple of months ago.
We have started introducing her back to the group, so she's actually met everyone again. She has still got a slight limp on that leg, which she will have for a long time. If she was a person, she would be on pretty much bed rest, a lot of physiotherapy. We obviously can't do that. So she is in the overnight a lot more than she is out in the full enclosure, and that's just to give her a little bit more cage rest. What we're seeing is expected, but obviously we do have to restrain her a little bit from being too active.
The others are under no such restrictions. Having had their fill, the troop are making full use of their wonderful tree-filled enclosure. The stump will stay in place for some time, so they can come back to it whenever they want. But for now, they're just enjoying the sun. Next time on Monkey Life. Females Roro and Lucky are reintroduced in the hope they can learn to live together, but immediately come to blows.
Roro's really surprised us. She's really stood her ground, had a bit of a go at Lucky.
And the wonder of woolies. Carlos is at full stretch for a breakfast treat.